Hey guys, it's Matt. I'm going to need every prop that I have for this presentation. If you're stumbling upon this channel, it will seem like how did a crazy person from an asylum get this many subscribers? It will evolve into a more serious presentation, I assure you. I will need every single prop that I have in the house for this Ship of Fools, River of Insanity presentation. I interrupt the regularly scheduled book reading because in terms of what I've been watching on television regarding what's happening in Israel and Palestine and the West Bank and Gaza, it is literally proving what we floated 4 or 5 years ago about the River of Insanity, Ship of Fools. We were 98% sure. Now we're 100% sure. We need new hobo code. Um, I don't know where I can just say staged. I say cake in a lake for you know what. Staged, I'm going to call it maged. Maged. Matt, aren't you just announcing the new hobo code to the bot? Pretty much. It knows what I'm talking about anyway. A mage is like a lesser wizard or sorcerer. At least that's what I remember from like Dungeons and Dragons. And I was in the seventh grade Dungeons and Dragons club. That's why I keep referring to the Dungeons and Dragons club in my book and things like that. A mage. So if it's what is happening is maged. Now that's staged. I don't want to say that word again, but it's real at the same time. Okay, of course it's real. You think you could just go on out there and there's nothing going on, just people at picnic tables? No, it's the same thing with well, I used to call it Kiev. They call it something else now. I don't know how that happened or when that happened. It's if you go out there, half the truth community thinks you go out there and there's just people playing cards around picnic tables. It's no, there's elements of cake in a lake in this reality. I don't know how they do it, mixed with real elements. Well, if you have the real elements, why do you need a maged situation? Why do you need a cake in a lake? Why do you need those elements mixed together? Guys, what is going on here in reality itself is so bizarre. It cannot be fully understood while we're alive in this body. But it's fun you know, to at least notice certain things, notice impossibilities that our friends and family will never be able to see. So we'll use this as this. I think is this going to be? No, this is. I guess this will be just a minion class. He will represent the minion. Is that Monica with the beret? Yeah, she's got and Jennifer Flowers and Monica. Okay, that is the Minion class. Now, the Minion class, this is going to be a Ship of Fools, River of Insanity presentation related to what's going on now in Israel and Palestine and the West Bank and Gaza, because it just makes no sense. It's literally a reality breakdown, but it's really not that much different than Ukraine. Anyway, a classic Minions. Now, this is a great representation of a minion like Melvin P. Bill here. They don't truly know how this reality works. This is a puppet of this system. This is a role player. You think this moron who was president knows how the inner workings of what we call not milk or the screen or what really motivates them? They don't know shit, in my opinion. Just look at this character, and he's not much different than this. The real Bill would not be much different than this representation. I'm not even joking. Was that Monica with the beret? Jennifer Flowers. And there could be thousands of women if they could insert thousands of characters here inside the arms. Matt, stop doing. You should just make a stand-up show. Stop doing the damn serious reality discussions. We got it. What about yourself? It's all we. Okay. Now, this represents us, and this was sent to me. These can't represent anything but us. Okay, they just can't. And I had no idea that the roots of these came from um, Carl Weathers' action Jacksonation type issue. I had no idea there was a relationship at all before I started using them. Jeff would probably tell me that spawned out of reality itself after we started using these. These have to be us, the real people. I used to make Andy the normie. No, these both have to be a real person that have that has dived off the back of the ship of fools. That has dived is correct. I'm now understanding how to use dive and dove. We dove off. Um, that looks from the bank and sees the ship sailing, those your friends and family on the ship of fools. As reality changes and it breaks down, we are fixed in our position, so it looks weirder and stranger to us as time goes on. Those on the ship of fools morph, metaphysically shift with the reality. It's very similar, in my opinion, to a Mandela effect. And everything my friend Tony would say in terms of the presentation of what's coming out of the Ukraine or of Tel Aviv, he would say, Matt, what's the problem? You, and you don't see anything wrong with this or that. No, it makes perfect sense. The opening videos of the conflict would be, of course, it's always filmed, would be Hamas somehow filming a small band, breaking through a fence or a barrier where there's no forces there to repel them. They go inside this structure, and there's a Israeli flag on the window, and they film it, just rip it down. I mean, if that doesn't look maged, I don't know what does. You say to Tony, that looks legitimate to you? And Tony would say, of course. It is legitimate to those on the ship of fools. Literally, they're morphing and going along with the reality itself, which is the ship. Okay, what else do I have here? This represents, I've never shown this before. I've had this forever. This is a great representation of the normal person, the normie, your family, your friends. It's some sort of frog dressed up in patriotic garb. So that makes it even more perfect. If this thing could talk, proud to be, that this is the normie. It's your best friend. It's your Aunt Ginny. It's my Tony. On the ship, it goes, on the ship. And as reality literally changes, shifts, metaphysically breaks down, recompiles itself, this person is on a frequency to go along with it. They don't see anything abnormal with the presentation. This is the main concept behind the ship of fools. And I have these rats I've shown before, mostly when talking about my trolls. I don't know how we're going to use these rats yet. Until we change or have a new use for them, this will still represent my trolls. The rat, where I've said, um, I try this entire channel, and what I've been doing here for 14 years, is to try to expose this rat. This is the Notnook, the screen. The minions support this rat without sometimes even knowing what they're doing. So my entire channel is about taking down this rat. Not, he can't be taken down. It's an element of this reality we'll never get rid of. To me, these minions are essential role players here. It's just part of what we signed up for when we came here. But to expose this rat, at least to those of us who can see. So I've said before, the trolls try to take me down. But wouldn't that mean they're supporting this rat? Yeah, it does. They're obviously working for this rat. I don't know what they would say to that. But anyway, let's move on. What is the next? Do I have any more props? Actually, guys, I started to talk about something. It makes no sense for anybody that's relatively new. Not everybody's old guard here that's been here for 10 to 14 years. Just give me 3 minutes to go over everybody, the different characters, and how they fit in to the Ship of Fools, River of Insanity, the different types of entities and incarnations that are here. We have all the props, so we might as well do it. I'm sorry. Matt, just do the stand-up show. Stop with this serious truth stuff. We don't need it anymore. We've had enough. No, we have had enough. Okay, very quickly. This is you and me. Okay, this represents a real person. That means we're a certain type of spiritual being, an incarnation. Tony calls us simultaneous incarnations of higher self. Not every real person has dived off the back of the ship of fools. There are many real people, in my opinion, that are smack right next to the normie on the ship, which means they're allowing themselves to take in the frequency and the download of the ship of fools, and they're reconfigured as the ship breaks down and becomes more and more ridiculous in its reality presentation. They have willingly tuned themselves to the frequency, just as the normie has. So there's still real people on the ship of fools. But this going forward will represent us. Okay, the ship's sailing. Matt, you got to get a damn ship. I got to get a ship. we're on the bank of the river. I know I've been through this many times. So for the new people, 1 minute or less. Okay, we are no longer allowing ourselves because of an armor of some kind. We've seen too much. Okay, this doesn't affect us anymore. The frequency, the download. We're on the bank or the beach. The ship is sailing. As it gets farther and farther away, we predicted it would be like this 3 years ago. Its presentation is getting more and more ridiculous in terms of what it presents on the news or through its sources of authority because we are rooted to somewhere else. In a way, you could say rooted to an old reality or more of a connection to the part of us that's not here, which isn't playing this reality game. So the prediction, say 3 years ago, was as time goes on, what's happening on the ship, which is represents this reality itself, it's going to get stranger and stranger to those that have dived off, and it is getting stranger and stranger. This is playing out as true. Okay. Um, the normie is smack in the middle of the ship of fools. The ship of fools, literally, it's a reality that's very fluid, in my opinion. I don't know how do you talk about something like this? It breaks down, it recompiles itself. This is what Mandela effects are, in my opinion, or Mandela effects are a symptom of this. But if you think reality is breaking down into a bozo show, as you've heard me say, then you're Mandela affected. It's not just about Kit Kat dashes and we're going to need a bigger boat. If you think nothing out your window or on TV makes any sense to you, then you're Mandela affected because this is the main principle behind it. Okay, that's what they think that's what they wanted us to do, get caught up on little movie lines, and so people can say, "Oh, confabulation, misremembering it," so they can make it trivial when it's a symptom of reality itself. At least those that have dived off. So reality is constantly changing, shifting, in my opinion. And it's for some reason in this phase that we're going through, its presentation, I don't think it has always been this way. I think the 2001 job application was a major shift of some kind to reality itself, the big event in 2001, but we'll go there. So things aren't the same in this quote. It's funny, Greg and I were talking the other day, in this new century, like, Matt, we're talking about a new century and we're almost 25 years into it. Can you still refer to old people like me? We still call it the new century, which is kind of funny. It changes, it configures, it breaks down. Maybe it's designed to break down like a truck and tractor pull. As that truck moves through the mud, the weight slides. It gets heavier and heavier until it just stops. It's breaking down. Maybe it's part of its initial design, perhaps, to break down, and then in a control center, the Adjustment Bureau control center somewhere, they're saying, well, we can't do much more to reality. Those that generally are going to wake up would have awoken by now. I mean, we can't do any more. What are we supposed to do to make it even more ridiculous than it is? If people like Matt's friend Tony are going to go along with it, and they're always going to metaphysically like align themselves up with the new reality presentation, maybe somebody in the control center is, we can't do any more to it. Who knows, right? It seems to me everything that's playing out is all by design for us. However, for the small group that will be done with these sorts of material plane reality incarnations, this is all for us. All right, guys. Element two, remember, is the normal person or the normie, but some things relative to our Ship of Fools conversation that wasn't said about the normal person a few minutes ago. Remember, they are smack in the middle of the Ship of Fools. Your best friend, my friend Tony, your Aunt Ginny, your neighbor, etc. Now, this means, for our purposes going forward, they are receiving the radio station, the frequency, and what we call the download. We didn't joke 4 or 5 years ago, but we floated it like, well, this really can't be true, but there's no other way to describe it. The people that can't see through this bozo show that's so easy for us to see through, we said 5 years ago, they must be on some sort of download. Well, it's proven true. We don't understand the mechanism. You could call it a technology, a spell, a combination of different factors, but it doesn't matter. They're on the Ship of Fools and they are on the frequency. Now, the most important part of understanding that for this conversation is as reality breaks down or resets, this is why the term, in my opinion, new normal was so big. New normal is a resetting, not of a trend or of a cultural norm, or it's a resetting, in my opinion, of a reality itself. It's not just, oh, we're going to accept that these diseases will always be around and something that just kind of impinges or infringes into culture. No, to me, new normal is actually like a new reality, metaphysical. We will never understand it. Who knows? It doesn't work on us. It will get stranger and stranger to us as time goes on. So remember, this person resets to the new reality. You, as a real person over here on the bank, or looking down at the river from the bridge, we don't reset to it. This person sails away. It's all normal to them. Everything happening, as strange as it gets. You can't get through to them. You can't wake them up. If you determine they are on the frequency, radio station or download, everything happening is completely normal. And you'd have to be one of those people you can't get through to them unless they somehow on their own decide, like Rose, go to the back of the damn ship, say she's looking at the propellers and think about jumping off. Matt, you don't think that was the Titanic was a metaphor for the ship of fools? In a way, but not exactly. But we'll use it. We'll use it going forward. Um, Here's the key thing: real people. Okay, did I say this in the first segment? It doesn't matter. Real people can be right next to that normie on the ship of fools on the same download and frequency. Now, the other factor that comes into play here, Matt, is everybody on the ship of fools a real spiritual being of soul and spirit? We don't know, but certainly we must always keep on the table that this entity is an NPC. All right, is not the same spiritually as you are. Um, you know, like Tony, for example, would say they have a soul. Okay, they have a soul, but it's a soul that's derived or animated from somewhere else. I always say locally. Tony doesn't like that. Associated with, I think he calls it the planetary spirit, something they get here, where your soul, this is a soul, is needed to animate a body, flesh and skin, and it doesn't work without the closest. The soul is what animates, in my opinion, everything. But the spirit is different between a real person and potentially many on the ship of fools. So, from my perspective, if this is a real person and this is what we call a normie, and they're both smack on the ship of fools, and they can't wait for the news to come on, they're believing every bit of it. It doesn't matter who's an NPC and who's a real person because they're all doing the same thing. They're all going to be the palace guard. They're all going to defend reality, and they're all going to call us names as one of those people or conspiracy person. In 2023, a conspiracy person is simply somebody who has dived off the back of the ship of fools and just, it's not like anymore we would say see through everything. It's so ridiculous. The presentation is so absurd. It's literally like being cast in the middle of a bozo show. There's nothing to, it's not like we're real skilled in seeing through anything. It's like you can't, it's how many movies are like, you can't see this? We need movie metaphors. You can't see this people on the ship can't see it. It's completely normal. They could be a real person with a spiritual part of them that's not here, and they're just fooled. Of course, the Not Nilk is very pleased to fool the real person, to get as many real people on that ship. I don't think it's real proud of itself over what it does to the NPC type. We don't know if the NPC type exists. Tony is convinced that it absolutely exists. And it has a soul, but it's not a soul that's energized or sparked the way your soul is from spiritual self, which my explanation of that is something that's not here. Tony calls us, or people like us, simultaneous incarnations of higher self. All right, let me put my hand puppet on for element 3 or group 3, the Minion class, here represented by Bill. I got to get my hand so he can talk. Yeah, that's not terrible. Bill, do you have something you want to say to the truth researchers? You do? Or you want to say, I'm only going to say this once. I want you to listen up. I never, ever had sexual relations with this woman here, Miss Lewin. Of course, and then he goes on to say something like, I never told anyone to lie. You never told anyone to lie. Your whole life has been about a lie. Who are you kidding, Bill? Anyway, the reason we're discussing this again briefly now is to briefly mention what Tony believes these people are a different spiritual incarnation or entity than you are. And when he told me about it, it just all made sense. He talks about them being, what does he call them? Sequential spiritual entities or sequential incarnations of higher self, where you would be called a simultaneous. You are a higher being than this role player, right? It just all made sense. And when I corresponded with him, I went, yeah, I just knew. I never heard it explained that way, but I knew that Melvin P. and this ilk, these role players here, it could not possibly be the same entity that we are. Just can't. We knew that, but I like the way he explained it. He talks about this group. They are as like role players. This group needs to be here in this reality system, so the trick, the master trick, is laid down. Okay, the trick by real people like us needs to be overcome. Well, we see through the trick. That part has been overcome, but we will talk about part two, the self work, a lot going forward. But again, these people, in a way, are on the ship of fools. Lower level minions are on, in my opinion, some sort of download and frequency as well, because lower level minions, even higher level minions, I think they understand their own little bucket, but they don't understand the big picture in terms of how reality works. Now, the truth community has given them too much credit. The truth community would say someone like Bill here knows exactly how all facets of reality work, knows. I don't think someone at this level, or the level of Obama, or Henry Kissinger would be higher up, for example. Different types, but generally if they're on television, I don't think they. Zara, are you going to come say hi? I don't think they know too much. Um, I think they understand their little bucket. They understand. Bill would understand that politics is not what is presented to the American people. He would understand that politics is candidates that are their predetermined menu choices. Come here, Czar. Predetermined choices on the menu that they put up, and maybe people really do go vote on them. She's not going to behave here, and maybe they do, but it's still their two menu choices. They don't care which food you pick from the menu. They win either way. Bill knows all that as that sort of minion, in my opinion. But in terms of what is the not milk, what is screen, how reality works, I don't think these minions understand. I think they're generally on a similar frequency or download, a similar mechanism of the normie getting the download on the ship of fools, but their frequency is different. Their download is different. So all their job is to serve this not milk or the screen rat, the outer ring of reality. They serve this. They, for the most part, many of the minions believe in every bit of what they're doing. For example, a U.S. senator believes let's say he was in office. This is also like a hand puppet. He was in, he was in office for, say, 35 years. He believed he actually helped people and doesn't even understand his minion role. So the truth community gives this. What happened to him? He fell on the floor or something. The minion class here. They give you. We gave this class too much credit. They perpetuate the trick on behalf of something most of them don't truly understand. Again, what Tony would call a true sequential incarnation, according to Tony, would understand it. A different relationship with higher self, knowledge of potentially past lives. Um, you know, Maybe Tony would say that this group understands a little bit more than what I'm giving them credit. It doesn't matter. If you agree with me, the only part that matters to me, if you agree, is they're here to facilitate the trick as role players. Okay, they're game addicted. They're addicted to this material plane of existence, this lifestyle. They're not willing. They're lesser. They're lesser entities than a real spiritual being like you and me. They're game addicted. They're not willing to take the leap to become Tommy, the deaf, dumb, and blind kid, and not understand itself and have to go through everything we're going through. And they're just kind of stuck in a loop. Some say they're bound to this reality, but Tony would say they're not bound here. They have the ability to get to where we are. They're just afraid to do it, or they're too addicted to these lifestyles, or they'll say, "I'll do it someday," but I want I want 20 more lifetimes here with magenta speedboats, and I like the sex acts on the back of them. I mean, and and he does he? You think this? Did he like his sex acts? Oh yeah, he did. You should put in the arms here just two women, Jennifer Flowers and Monica Lewinsky. You should put thousands of plastic women. If anybody in China wants to manufacture that, please reach out to me. I'll distribute them for you. Just we are the superior being. All right, last group. This we don't. We're running out of props. The rat will also be not Nilk. The screen, the outer ring of reality. It is not something that could ever be a hand puppet. It is nothing that can be pointed at in a police lineup of bad guys. It is very similar to what a Christian calls Satan. The reason we started focusing more on this, we'll just for now talk about as the outer ring of reality, was because we clearly saw many, many years ago that this entity could not pull everything off that it is. We've looked at here we go again, 10,000 different conspiracies, and they're all multi-layered. There's no way just men and women here eating their Subway sandwiches could pull all of this off. They're getting help from something. How much they understand this help, I don't know. What technology or spell or reality buttons and levers that this thing has access to, we'll never know while alive in the body. It doesn't matter. It wants us back in the bog trying to figure it out. The pairing of this group and whatever the power that this represents that's given to this group, like the Adjustment Bureau or whatever, creates or is able in some way to pull off the trick here. It can't be pulled off just by secret societies and men making phone calls and driving around. All right, guys, getting back to what we should have been talking about before that little hiatus, but I think that was necessary, especially for anybody new. We haven't talked about the Ship of Fools on the River of Insanity we haven't done a dedicated video on it for like a year and a half or more. So there's some new people here. I hope that was somewhat helpful. But the conflict that's on the news now between Gaza, West Bank, the Palestinians, and Israel, uh, that's the way I think they want it pronounced. I'm trying the best that I can. Israel. Do you think they want me to say that's when Bibi Netanyahu comes on the news? It sounds like that's what he's saying. Do you think they want me saying it like South Philly would say it? Is real? That's like a truth. Matt, that's a truth drop. Is real. R-E-A-L or R-E-E-L is real. R-E-E-L like a movie. Like a movie real. They don't want me saying like South Philly is real. Like they say, you go in vacation. It's Porter, P-O-R-T-E-R, to Puerto Rico. You go on vacation, Puerto. You got answer. You go in Porter, P-O-R-T-E-R, like a porter. They don't want me saying that, so I'm doing the best I can, saying it. There's a conflict in Tel Aviv and Israel. That's what it sounds like. Sorry. Okay, guys, and if I can hear there's a Pootie Tang award coming somewhere. Someone's like, I can hear it now. Matt, did you know that Israel is the country name is composed of three component parts? IS for Isis, Ra for the Egyptian god Ra, and El, which means God. Did you? Major Pootie Tang Award. Yeah, we've been talking about that for 10 to 14 years. There's something to that, guys. Again, if you want to go back in the bog and really care what that means to them, go back in the bog. Who cares? I'll just try to, out of consideration for the innocent civilians, I'll try to do the best I can in the pronunciation. So, guys, we know now about this reality that what was our Pootie Tang, or not our Pootie Tang award? What was our? I see, I'm getting confused now. What was our hobo code? It was a mall event or a school event is not with the S. You say it's a maged event, which is like cake in a lake. We see now that whatever major that this Not Milk presents through its screen, through its Ministry of Information and Minions, there will be a whole host of real things happening. Yes, if you go out there, it's not just people at picnic tables playing cards. There are buildings being blown up. Of course, there are real people suffering and hurting, but it's a mix of real and cake in a lake. It's a mix of real and maged events, maged presentations, like the person going through that building, and it's just like a video game. You see the butt of their rifle. There's an Israeli flag on the window, and they rip it down. And, come on, really? Come on, sir, that's a joke. And anybody crying, Matt, why, if it's real to a degree and buildings really are exploding, why do they need the maged events or the cake in a lake? Why is the ridiculousness always have to be alongside the real, the real? Um, I don't know. We'll talk about that again. The main purpose here in this presentation is to notice that to when we understand definitively how reality needs to do business, we notice it and document it. The real has to be next to the bozo show. They have to be right next to each other. As if there's a real cat here, and then let's just say this was a stuffed fake one. They have to be next. Sorry, this isn't real. Don't worry about it. Um, they did this. They do this in like everything they do now. And the first inclination that I ever got that it appeared to be a real event. It was like a mall event or a school event. There was police held up outside a North Philadelphia neighborhood, and there was a shooting of some kind in North Philadelphia, which is a very, very bad neighborhood. And every bit of it appeared to be legitimate to me as I watched it go down. And again, there's a whole segment of the truth community that just can't accept that anything is ever real. So again, the people that got upset at me for what I said, saying this event in North Philadelphia about 4 years ago was real, was legitimate. Of course, they got very upset at me because to them, nothing could ever be real. In a country with close to 400 million guns, there could never be a real shooting. Does that make any sense? Um, so they got upset at me, and remember, to those that got upset at me, I'm like one of the original truth researchers, right behind, the likes of Russian vids who broke into truth research when we were allowed to post whatever we wanted with breaking down the mall events and the school events. Like I'm one of the original ones, so I'm well aware more than most what could be real in a mall, what could be real in a school. So I don't know what they were getting so upset about, but the whole point is to wrap it up. Then they sent me these clips saying, showing so ridiculous the scene, so obviously staged. I will say it in this regard, where you had officers with a helicopter camera above. They pulled out some ketchup or something, rubbed the ketchup all over their hands, and we so obviously see through this stuff. But at the time, okay, as I'm watching the North Philadelphia event, I'm going, it seems legitimate. So I made a video saying it's legitimate. All the truthers got upset at me. Matt, look at this. They poured the ketchup on his arms and got in the car. Oh, sure. Here we go again. We caught them. Yeah, they're not. Our adversary's not sophisticated. It wouldn't whatever caught that in the helicopter camera. They wouldn't. They're not working for the same Ministry of Information. See, if we caught him, we were meant to see that. See how that works? We didn't catch him in anything. Well, Matt, though, the footage just slipped through. Oh, sure it did. Yeah, sure it did. That's how things work. Yeah. So, guys, what I came back with a few days later was this is a real event that they actually went in and put elements in it to make us believe that it was not. Now, how insane would that be to my friend Tony or anybody stumbling? The thing's showing its ass again. That's showing anybody stumbling upon this video. But Matt, let me get this straight. You believe there was a real event, somebody held up with a gun in North Philadelphia, and somebody was shot, or a few people, please don't step on that keyboard, was shot. And then you believed that some sort of adjustment bureau came in, or a certain dark element, and on purpose was filmed under a helicopter, pouring like fake blood on themselves. Yes, I do. Somehow, now we know now definitively that in any major event, there are real elements combined with maged elements or cake in a lake elements. Why this reality, the dark reality, has to do business that way, we'll talk about some other time. We know that is happening. So the point of me saying that story about the North Philadelphia gunmen held up or whatever. It was the first time I ever went. It was like that's a cake and a lake element. They're like inserting into a real event. And again, for what? It's very for what? I mean, I hear you how strange this is. But now we've seen it so many different times. We see it on a scale a million fold with what's happening now in Gaza. Um, Real, right next to the maged, Ukraine, same exact thing. Ridiculous stories of news reporters coming into someone's kitchen. There's a missile didn't go off and through somebody's sink. Obviously, yeah, I don't buy it. This isn't my first rodeo. I have 14 years, one of the original ones breaking down the mall events and the school events behind our mentor, Russian vids. I don't. Who knows? I never talked to him personally. Wish him the best. Don't know what he's up to now, but he was a trendsetter for us. I don't know if he progressed in a similar way to what we do at this channel, but I appreciate his work. I just as I appreciate, we don't know what the roles of all these people are. Jordan Maxwell, Bill Cooper, they all provided something that was very valuable to us as we progressed over the years. So we know now that I don't, again, we'll talk about it some other time why reality has to do business. Maybe it's part of when the spell is cast, the cake and a lake element, the bozo element has to be part of it somehow. But it doesn't matter. The point is we know this is how reality, the dark reality, the not operates at this point. So you're a first grade truther if you look at the Ukraine and you see some ridiculous news story of a missile just came through somebody's house and just stuck in the sink and go, God, I'm so glad it didn't go off. Well, yeah, anybody can see that's maged. Bot, I'm saying M-A-G-E, mage, bot, mage like a wizard. That's mage. That's a maged event. It's cake and a lake. It doesn't mean if you went out there, there's absolutely nothing going on. The entire world is being fooled that there is a war going on, but just people playing cards. If anybody were to go out there, not one building damaged, nothing. Of course, it's not a regular war the way we would expect it to be fought. This is all the reality breakdown that's associated with those on the ship of fools. The way this war in Ukraine is being presented, those on the ship, this is just completely normal. My friend Tony would say, Matt, that's the way wars are fought. What's the matter with you? And we're rooted to something else, and we say, no, it's not the way they're fought. It's just everything, every bit of it seems normal to those in the frequency of the download and the ship of fools. Maybe would he stay on my shoulder like this? I need to rig up some sort of harness. Every single video, he could just sit up here. Um, so it's also, a symptom of a real person who's dived off the back of the ship is more of these ridiculous elements come up, and we can see them where the person on the ship would never be able to see a ridiculous element. It may be Matt, that ridiculous element, is that just there for us? Maybe. Is it only in our reality? Maybe. I don't take that stuff off the table. Who knows? There's no reason to make it overly complicated because our reality at this point is a half a page. It's a half a page. I've worked on that half page, which is almost at 3 pages, but I'm still going to call it the half. You've broken all of reality down, in my understanding of everything that I've ever researched, into 3 pages. That's it. Then I'm still I think able to call it a half page, even though I can't. I've tried to do the half page even with 8-point font, and say but I just can't get it. Not everybody has been with us for 14 years. I can't squeeze it all into half page. If you understood everything of where I was coming from, it would be half page. But I'll present it. It's the final half page for the book, which is about 3 pages. I'll do that. I was going to save it to the end of the book, but I might do it in the next week or so, and then it needs to be revised probably a little bit, and maybe you can help me revise it. So, but basically, it's we are an aspect of something that's not here. We came into this little reality. We chose to come into this little reality system for an experience. Half the truth community gets all triggered when you say school, and they get triggered when you say learning. Well, any new experience is a learning experience by definition. Why do they get triggered? And we're getting something in this experience that we, the physicality of it. They use that all over college football now in football games. I hate that word because they use it so much. The physicality, the Minnesota defense is off the charts. And is that even a word? Physicality, whatever. But we're here, whatever experience we're getting here, we can't get in the place from which we came. We will die. And so what? Just go on to something else. And we've beaten the trick here. So if there is a trick there, we'll beat it. Or why is it trying so hard now to influence us? If it has us at death, what's it working so hard now for? We've beat the trick here. Well, I'll beat it there if there is one. And I don't even want to believe there is one because I don't want to manifest or assist it in any way. You just believe you've won. I mean, that's the reason it plays its trick, because we decide everything. This life is so big and consequential now, and you'll look back on it someday, literally just like a 10-minute dream you had. Your alarm goes off, you're like, oh, I can hit the snooze and get an extra 10 minutes, and then immediately, if you're real tired, you'll start dreaming again immediately. Alarm goes back off, snooze, oh, you got to get up and make the train. Oh, I was in a bakery in that little dream or whatever, and somebody came in. It will be of no more consequence than that. Well, maybe slightly, but just this reality desperately needs to be believed in. It doesn't exist. This whole group and what it serves, it doesn't work. It doesn't not only thrive, it might not survive if all the real people here don't believe in it fully with their energy and their attention. And once you start to see through it, it's an absolute joke. Somebody tell a joke. There's no reason to get stressed. And I still do, but that's the part two. That's the worry about yourself, part two self-work. So I see what it's trying to do to me here. No, just the situation that I'm in. It just happened to me yesterday. Sometimes it happens. I don't drive out much or do much, but it'll be just one thing after another. Construction crew, all the construction all over the place. I can't go out anywhere without a flagger force, whatever that is. Somebody with the slow and the stop. Spin it. No, spin it the other way for stop and slow. You don't know how to spin your damn thing? You ain't never going to be a sign man. They flip all that shit around. Slow, stop. So every time I go out, backs up. They're building a Wawa down here on Route 30 by Fraser. Because of the big things coming in and out, they shut the whole road down for 5 minutes. People, I don't go anywhere. I don't do anything. It's not like I had a major appointment. So I was just trying to be patient, but I'm rolling my eyes and it's starting to stress me out. I'm like, this is the not milk. This is what it does. Do you want to give a point to it, or do you want to win a point? It's an opportunity to win a point. It's always going to try to F with us. But it's become a joke, and it will continue to break down and become more of a bozo show as the years go by. It will get even mad. Somebody say, I can't imagine what's presented on the news could get more ridiculous. It will get more ridiculous to us. That ship will continue to sail. Unless you want to, you have the ability to swim real fast, go really, really, really fast, and swim and get back on it. Your row's jumping off it. You're not done. You can get back on the damn thing if you want. But I don't think most people here would want to be Cypher from the Matrix and get back on the ship. It'll take you back with open arms. You dive back, even though you think that ship's miles down, there's cold water and icebergs and shit. All of a sudden there'll be a rope, and an Agent Smith will be there talking to you as Cypher. You want to go back in the Matrix? If you announce you went back in, you'll get that corporate corner office and shit. You'll get everything. You'll no. But how many of us? I would say extremely few go back into the Matrix. I think there have been some. There's some emails I've gotten from people that, Matt, I'm done with this, and just I believe I'm a no consequences person, and I don't want to suffer, and I don't want to starve, and I'm just going to go back and not going to do this sort of research anymore and try to enter the Matrix. And they might say, as a no consequences person, my spiritual essence can't be harmed in any way. And they're probably right. I agree with them in that aspect, that their spiritual essence can't be harmed. They have convinced me that you can't give a real person can't give soul tokens away, can give energy away to whatever's here that feeds on that energy. Absolutely, the whole reality is structured to take energy from real people, but not complete pieces. We talk about the no consequences people appropriately got upset at me for you can't give soul tokens away. And if you give too many away, you go into the Pope's abyss. Or we talked about the scary terms like the Harry Potter term Horcrux, like rooting to this place, like leaving a part of your soul from Harry Potter. Voldemort puts part of his soul in material objects, and I'm much more with the no consequences people that can't happen. However, there is a consequence. If you're, where is Andy? If this is your higher self, whatever, just to me, it's just Tony has a full understanding of this. You and I never will. To me, it does. We don't have to have a full understanding. It just means there's a part of us that's not here. I don't believe if you turn on your inner tuning fork and inner knowing that this is all we are. There's a part of me that's not here. Okay, so what the hell was I going to talk about? We're talking about giving away pieces of ourselves and soul tokens, and I don't believe in the Horcrux. Okay, yeah, here we go. If you are there are still consequences, no consequences, people. If you are just a complete, are you doing what this part of you wants? Okay, this big part of you sent what you know of as you into this reality system, Earth. Well, it didn't send you in for no reason. You're here to do something. But the main part of part two, the work, is what was I sent in here to do? Even if it's something like the line from The Last Samurai, you could spend a lifetime looking for the perfect blossom and it would not be a wasted lifetime. That's an absolute truth drop, in my opinion. This part of you may have never experienced this sort of reality system before, sent you in here literally to just find the perfect blossom. A lifetime of just looking at flowers and smelling the roses, it's possible. If you get in touch, and that's what this part of you wanted. But as a no consequences person, like I'm gonna go back on the ship of fools. I'm gonna get that corporate job. I'm going back in the Matrix. I'm Cypher, and I'm gonna talk to Agent Smith. Remember Cypher in Matrix One? He's like, and I want to be rich, and I don't remember any of this, and I want these steak dinners. And is that okay? Fine. Maybe you can't give soul tokens away or parts of yourself away, but is that what this part of you wanted in that incarnation? No. Therefore, by definition, it's a consequence, right? So the no consequences people have pulled me along 70%, but they need to change their name to something other because there is a consequence for not doing what the part that sent you in wants to do. Now, Tony also often disagrees with that, saying that if this incarnation was a complete, screw off and just went off to be in Hollywood and to be in a band and did a lot of drugs. And Tony says, well, higher self can learn from that too. Well, okay. The higher self can learn from any type of incarnation. But what if every incarnation is a screw off? I think Tony would even say then none of the incarnations are doing what the major incarnation needs. So you're continuously like stuck in the reality system until in other words, Tony, he doesn't say stuck, but he says like higher self cannot exit this game until it gets out of the reason it came in here or put its different incarnations in here in the first place. It's not stuck, but at least it needs one incarnation to say, I'm going to give you what you need. I'm going to give you what, all these other incarnations, complete screw offs. This one's in a band. This one's a heroin addict. Okay, higher self can benefit from all that. But which one is going to give this entity enough where everybody can get the hell out? There's a consequence if every entity incarnation is a screw up, right? I mean, that's the way I see it, Tony. I haven't communed with my higher self. He doesn't like that either when I say he's communed with his higher self. Well, what's the difference? As long as people understand what I'm talking about, you have he had some sort of insight where he saw the different incarnations, simultaneous incarnations happening at once. And it's more than that. And trust me, if he was a crazy man, I would know it. I mean, we've had enough back and forth where I'll be going down a certain path. He'll know where I'm going. Trust me, I wouldn't be spending a lot of time. Tony's given me a lot of incredible information over the years, and I've shared almost all of that with you, and it's helped us tremendously. It really has. If he doesn't like the way I'm presenting something, he can smack me down like he has many times. But one of the main things he says is it's not the higher self isn't stuck. He's okay. I can say he's seen all the different incarnations all happening at once because there is no such thing as we knew that. I mean, we knew this 10 years ago. There's no such thing as linear time. It's all perception. The record is all things happening at once. I said this and I wrote about this in some sort of trance state in my book, Quantum of Conscience. Before people go out and buy it, it's a fun fiction book about college kids at the University of Vienna. People go buy the book like there's no conspiracy here. What's this horse shit about college kids and dream experiments and horse shit and time travel? Well, read the description. The Amazon description is right under the book saying I'm not trying to. It's not bait and switch. I don't say it's a conspiracy book and this is about kids roaming around the University of Vienna. Read the description. Most people are like, what is this shit I bought? Anyway, well, in the book, through the dream experiments, whatever, I don't even remember the damn character's name. His name is Adrian, goes into a trance state, comes out of the trance state. And I wrote this, started this 10 years ago. I think there's no such thing as time. It's all a record. Wherever you drop the needle is in other words, the Civil War is right on top of you. Genghis Khan, whatever that was. We'll talk about that some other times. Right on top of you. Now, don't use a fraudulent event as a representation on how time is stacked on top. Okay, whatever happened in 1408, it's all on top of each other. You drop the needle, which is conscious observation on the record over here. It seems like its own little thing, far away from song one. It's all the senses just playing a game with us here. So it relates to what Tony talks about, the simultaneous incarnations. It's all playing out at once for higher self. It's not like, oh, we just got this incarnation done in the year 1200. Now I got to wait till 13 whatever for the next incarnation. It don't have to wait none. It's all happening. Okay, this makes perfect sense. Tony told me all about that, but yeah, that's what I wrote about in my book 10 years ago to a degree, in some sort of weird trance state. I talked about it a few times on it might have been the old Texas Shrug channel, just saying like when you get into certain music I would play, certain classical music, like where did that come from? Like writing a fiction book, but like that's right. That's a little insight into reality, and I put it into the fiction book. Anyway, guys, this again, I'm not trying to. I make about $200 a year or something off this book. I mean, it's not like I'm trying to promote it or anything, and it is completely fiction. So the point is, yeah, I've gone back and forth with Tony on this, and I'm still a little unclear. Well, it's sometimes he makes it seem that this little incarnation is just essential for the higher self realizing it's done enough and to get all its incarnations out of the reality system. It's like the little incarnation you is essential to letting it understand I've done enough. We don't need those incarnations anymore. We don't need these Earth-like reality systems anymore. And then on other times, he's kind of hinted that it's completely up to the higher self to decide. And this is important, the information collected from an incarnation down here, like you, but isn't essential. And you have presented that both ways, Tony. Initially, I clearly remember saying this little incarnation is essential to getting this entity to realize this is it. Well, that's the way I'm playing this. That's why I don't try to. Matt, are you going to talk and mock your higher self again and piss it off? Maybe. I don't think I'm going to do it in this video, but it's like, okay, I'm going to have before my death. Well, I've already done it 10 times, so I don't need to do it before my death. But I'll be like, higher self, whatever. There's a part of me, I believe, whatever your definition, I believe there's a part of me that's not here. This is, of course, an illusory reality. There's not much real here at all. That's why this constant examination of how buildings were built in Tartaria is a waste of time. There's no difference between a Kit Kat dash coming and going and a damn big gigantic building with heavy blocks. I don't think there's any difference here. I think if you were outside this reality or from this thing's perspective, I think he would be like, oh, there they go again, thinking there's a difference between a Kit Kat dash and a giant cathedral. From this thing's perspective, there's no difference. That's my opinion. I lost my train of thought, but it was something along the lines of, okay, this is little Matt here. This is my higher self, just means a part of us that's not here. Okay, whatever that means. So I'd say before my death, I'm going to make sure I have a conversation with it, but I already have had the conversation with it 10, 20, 50, 100 times. It's like, Matt, when you have a conversation with it, you typically piss it off. It's going to leave your broke ass in that reality system. I don't think so. Tony would describe it. Would a body want to leave its little finger behind? No, it needs a little finger. It's not, I'm, like, it's me. So he's like, it is you. You are it. It's the truth drop from the 16 Candles when he loaded Carolyn, drunk Carolyn, into the car. Who's he? He's me. Who are you? I'm him. Who's this? It's me. Hire part of you that's not. So I can't piss it off. It's me. It's me. Come here. I can't piss it off. Come here. I can't. But you can still say before many times. Do it every day if you want. Okay. First off, if you want out of here, we've done enough. But if there's still something you need me to do, I'm not going to be like these screw off incarnations. If there's something you need from this material incarnation that you want to experience, or what is it? You you want to what? You want to be a heroin addict? I ain't giving you that. Come on, man. It's like, what do you need? What you need me just to go find the perfect blossom for the rest of my life and look at flowers and look for the perfect blossom? I'll look for the perfect blossom. Get in touch with what it needs. This is all my opinion, based on reading nothing. No, Tony shared some great information with me, but I don't read nothing. I don't look at old ancient tomes, and I don't waste my time with that. It's 99% not no horse shit, in my opinion. I observe the creeps, observe what they want from us, and because they give themselves away so clearly in how they work their little pathetic tricks, it has told me over time a lot about myself and what I'm supposed to do here. So it's like, higher self, what do you need from me? You know, tell me but then if I decide, I will decide we are getting out of these reality systems if that's what you want. Sometimes be careful what you wish for. Your higher self will not allow people to get out if they're not ready. This is the concept of it's sometimes some people say this is not just an NPC or those on the ship of fools. It could be an NPC, but a real person that's on the ship of fools. You know somebody's real in your family, and they still believe every bit of the news, every bit of the presentation. This is the old term of young soul, old soul. Just like they're not ready to see what you see or what I see. This aspect of themselves isn't ready to exit these types of reality systems or whatever. Which just makes sense. This person will act like the normie. They will freely drop their guard and their armor and take the not milk radio station frequency and download. And who knows when they're ready, And I don't love it when it just sounds like reincarnation, but I like it more the way Tony describes it. It's not like reincarnation of just one after the other in thousands and thousands of years. The way Tony described it, again, jived with my understanding of how time works that I wrote in the fiction book, that it's all happening now. So there's no reincarnation. Like he would say, the entity that you are of is you. It's not like then you're going to show up in ancient Rome and it's you again. It's like, no, your higher self might have something in ancient Rome, but it's not what you know of as you here. But it's all you. It's a little scary to think about. I was going to get into this in a totally separate video, but it's like, well, it's a little scary. The one thing that we all dread is the end of our own existence. So it's like, well, I don't like what I just heard, Matt. If this maybe higher self will continue with other types of incarnations in different scenarios or times and places, but it all seems like different times and places because it's all laid down as one. But I will die and this part of me will come to an end. But think the best way to think about it, if that disturbs you, is you might say, even though I'm part of it, what I know of exactly as me, will come to an end and die. And that's very scary for everybody, including myself. However, it all becomes easier to understand. Just look at the dream character. Okay, the character, you went to bed last night. It's likely you had a dream, even if you don't remember it. The dream character, at the end of the dream, dies. Okay, dies. But do you mourn for it? What do you mean dies? Yeah, it does. Okay, just hear me out. Give me a few minutes. Do you mourn for it? Do you wake? Oh, okay, you know what you are when you wake up. But the dream character that was in this scenario and roaming around these fields or whatever, that character will never exist And of course you don't mourn for it. It all just makes sense, and you don't think one bit about it. It all makes sense. However, if you could, like the movie Inception, you could get to that dream character, the you that's in that dream. When you're in the dream, is it you? Of course it's you. You believe it's you. It seems realistic when you're in the dream. So a character comes up and says, that whole scenario from a movie or something, a bad movie, like convincing you're in a dream. You're in a dream, and okay, you're not lucid. It's not a lucid dream. It's like, I'm not. What do you mean I'm not in a dream? It seems real. Okay, I don't have to keep saying that. When we're in a dream, it seems real. But the person would say, look, I'm telling you, you're in a dream, somebody talking to me. I'm asleep in the bed right now, for example, or last night. When that aspect of you wakes up, higher self, when that aspect of you wakes up, you're dead. You will no longer cease to exist. That's a little scary. And if you were talking to that aspect of you that's in the dream, and the aspect of you in the dream was convinced that whoever was talking to is telling the truth, there's a person that's going to wake up and then I will cease to exist. Oh, that's scary. That's a little scary. Just like in Inception, the layers down, that aspect of Leonardo DiCaprio, Da Vinci, or whatever that was in the different layers down, when let's say they push the one above into the water, they're all gone. That little aspect of them. But is it anything to worry about? It's just when you wake up, you in the dream, that entity's dead or gone forever. But there's nothing to worry about. It's just you see how clearly how that's you. Okay, it's part of you. And I don't think it's going to be, it's all a fractal step up. I don't think it's going to be any different. What we know here, will be no more, but it will merge. It will just be part of that thing we call higher self, or the you one level up. That's in this example, sleeping, for example. This is why, these creeps at this level, the transhumanism is so important to them, and they just don't want things to play out naturally. They want you. They're very interested, I think, in concepts like Horcrux, and they want is it Horcrux if they can get you to like leave part of your consciousness or the Johnny Depp movie Transcendence, or the horrible Netflix series Upload, or download your consciousness into a Ray Kurzweil brain chip. Although the no consequences people would say you can't leave pieces of yourself, spiritual pieces of yourself here, it certainly seems like this group, on behalf of Not Milk, is trying to get those things. What is the Ray Kurzweil constantly talking about brain chip and transhumanism and downloading your consciousness and trying to get you to more? They want you to go. They want the real person to go lower and lower. This is the game that entity plays. They want the real person. Let's say the regular life that we know is at this level here in the 1900, 1920s, 1970. But then if they can get you to go or start living your life on the internet, and that becomes your reality, and in some way this reality is not nearly as real as it seems, okay, this is where we all were for many, many decades or hundreds of years. You're on the internet all the time. Facebook, Instagram, this is your reality. The screen then is merging closer. Those outer rings in our eccentric concentric rings diagram are now much closer to your heart centers. You've now lowered yourself to this level. And that's its tactic. Through its minions, we'll just use a Not Milk, to get the person to go lower and lower and lower. And potentially they go too low. Do they cut off the relationship between the part of you that's not here? So what's the internet is obviously the middle ground between what existed in 1980 and what will exist very soon. The VR headsets will be the next. So here's the internet phase. VR headsets, living your life, fantasy, sexual fantasies, work meetings, virtual meetings, headsets, 4 hours a day, then 8 hours a day, even then sleeping with headsets. Will be hooked up to your sleep apnea machine. Then you've now, that's now lower. Is there a threshold where this gets, see, the no consequence people, I could never leave a part of myself here. You sure? Well, if that's the case, I dropped Bill. I'm sorry, buddy. Give me a hug. I'm sorry. He was smushed down there, so Zara was going to get him. See, if they can, what's this thing working so hard for with not milk? If you can't leave a part of yourself here, you see what I'm saying? So the virtual headset, then after that will be the true immersive virtual environment via the brain chip. So that will be then here. Why is it trying to lower us down towards it? It moves the real human further and further towards a complete digital environment. Okay, the AI will be a big tool to do that over the next 5 years or so. Well, what's it doing it for? Nothing? For no reason? See, that's the issue I have with some of the no consequences people. What's it doing it all for? Yeah, it's for nothing. And you can't say it's going to be able to better harness energy. It's all just about loosh for these things or what it serves. All about loosh. There's no ultimate aim for what it wants to do to a real human. I think there is an ultimate aim. It doesn't matter. We already see through the trick. Um, if we have to use a headset one day for our job, it'll be at the minimum. If a nurse has to use a headset, we have armor. Guys, it can't work on us. Why? Because we said so. It doesn't, if you see through the trick, I don't think I'm going to spend 10 hours a day on a virtual headset, but that doesn't mean I'll never ever get on one. There's a cool racing game or something. I'm not afraid of it. It can't do that to me. Why? Because I see through the trick and I said so. We are in control. That's why it plays its trick. So we've been over this many times. It's half page. It's very simple. But if you, when this reality illusion comes to an end, we'll just merge back you know, with whatever this is. And it's like the dream character at the end of the dream. It's not dead. Just it's no big deal. It just makes sense. Oh, I was dreaming. Higher self will say, oh, that was that Earth reality system, and okay, fine. It's no big deal. So, it's getting pretty long, I guess. I guess I'll wrap it up. But we didn't talk much about. I thought we'd talk more about Israel, Palestine, Gaza Strip. With the only point I wanted to make, guys, is I think it's an element as the ship sails and we're off the ship of fools, then because the presentation has to have the cake in the lake right next to the real, and the cake in the lake, the maged setup always has to be next to the real, that as the ship sails further down the river, which means essentially we can then see more, or its presentation becomes more ridiculous to us, the number of ridiculous things inside a supposed real presentation will increase. Where maybe now it looks like 10% a maged setup, 10% cake in a lake, 90% real. As that ship of fools sails, guys, for whatever presentations they're going to pass off on the news, it might someday become 50-50. Or then maybe someday before the end of our lives, 90-10, where 90% is completely to us a maged scenario, cake in a lake, and only 10% is real. But then you asked the normie, it doesn't matter how ridiculous it'll look to us, they still won't be able to see it. They will be completely metaphysically shifting along with it. The essence of who they are, in some way, is lining up to the new presentation on the ship of fools. So, is that a consequence? No consequences, people. I don't. One last time, the no consequences people have influenced me in their direction, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to do anything different in my life. I've said this a million times. I'm not going to do anything different to seek a reward. I'm not going to do anything different because I realize there's no consequence. I'm not going to go, do this or that. I'm going to do the same thing anyway. So who cares? I lost my train of thought in trying to summarize, but I think I was saying something like, guys, my role in this earthly place to the part of me that's not here is to try to be the incarnation that says we've done enough. Like, are you gonna talk and yell at it again, Matt? We've done enough. Okay, how much more of the trick you want me to see through? Get us the f out of here. That's my role. That's what I'm gonna try to do. Maybe that's not your role. You're not done with these reality systems. You don't want to completely exit them. I think for exit, and Tony would probably agree with this, that it can't be 99% to 1%. It has to be 100%. This thing has to be ready to leave. We're done with this. Completely done with this. This is, I just can't imagine from now until the rest of my life there'll be a moment where I go, well, maybe we would want to incarnate into something like that again. And it's not just the way it's going now with the AIs and just the world is becoming just a horrible thing we don't recognize. But it's always been to a degree brutal and horrible. Back in 1400, you got your sharecropping land, and some representative of the king, you're not producing enough for me, or then threats of violence from kings, queens, emperors, dukes of Earl, all these assholes roaming around. Look at the character of the sheriff of Nottingham in the Kevin Costner Robin Hood, who played was I don't know the name of the actor, but he was Snape, I guess, Snape in the Harry Potter thing. Just assholes all around, and disease and torture and death, and there's no good. Okay, you're out there working for the sheriff of Nottingham. I agree. You look up in the sky; it's probably pretty blue with the clouds and no tails, no tails of chemicals, no gigantic 100-mile swaths and bullshit on your television. And if you could get back to no, you could sleep in the grass without worrying deer ticks get all over you, carrying their hybrid syphilis that was created in a lab called pause called Lyme Lyme disease, you know, create. I'm not going to say it. I don't want no problems with this. Although you can't even I can't even lay in the grass in the summer here in Pennsylvania. That's what they've done, you know. They're well, I'm not going to say it. We'll just look at them as role players, needed assholes. We'll leave it at that. There's some things I'd like to say, but I don't know. There's a reason this channel's still here, I guess. But can't even lay in the grass. So, guys, I'm going to be the incarnation that keeps saying to higher self, get us the call of the Figari tribe. Hey, higher self, do you know what the call of the Figari tribe is? Not, well, this, we'll have to go with the joke. Where the fuck are we? But get us the F out of here. Well, all the other incarnations are being fuck offs. I don't care about the other incarnations. I've done enough for all of us. Son of a beach. I've done enough for all of us. How much more of the trick you want me to see through? I can see through all of it. Every bit of it. So get us the fuck out of here. That's it. When I die, we're all done. Why? Because I said so. You and me, I'm you. Who's he? He's me. Who are you? I'm him. Thought you couldn't drive a stick. Okay. That's my. If you're not sure, then this thing's not going to be sure. Look at that red hair. Did you dye that hair? Who has red hair? Anyway, so Tony, if he's listening, he can smack me down on the parts that I got wrong. But I think he generally would agree. Generally would agree. And could you imagine if anybody stumbled upon this video, they would be like, I heard about this part of YouTube. Oh my, they probably anybody that stumbled upon this video is petitioning YouTube right now to have me cut off. And if that happens, guys, find me at quantumofconscience.com and freevoice.io because I'm surprised I'm still here. I really am. Thanks for listening.